a blanket on it. You know, it's like mulch is where it's at. It makes a huge difference. If you have fruit trees or perennials, you want a fungal compost and a fungal mulch. All right, so that's wood chips, and we got to witness the wood chips here. I'm a big believer in wood chips too. Catalina is.
Alfalfa hay?
Still love alfalfa because alfalfa has the protozoa in it. Alfalfa kickstarts the protozoa, and sometimes that whole cycle doesn't happen until you get something to kickstart the protozoa to make the whole cycle work. So I really like alfalfa too, especially for fruit trees. And then get some wood chips.
Okay, so here's kind of my dilemma. Okay, so there's mulch, which, yeah, I get it. And there is quite a bit of, soil biology going on there, obviously. But something Elaine had said that was, resonating was the idea that you want things growing because it's the network of the roots that the mycorrhizae attach to that connect everything to everything else. So if it's bare, it's so the idea of mulch is you'd be better off with a living mulch.
Okay.
That's where I couldn't quite come up with the well then which is it? Because one is one and one is another.
But it doesn't matter which one you do.
Dead or living, it's mulch.
What she was talking about is if you have a huge farm, have a living cover crop so that you don't have to keep pulling it up. But it just for every single thing, like anybody's property I go to or any specific place, like your place, like when you look here or you look there or you look up here, each thing is different. So you do the appropriate thing for there. Okay, so you might want to have a living cover crop. You might want to have a living mulch. In permaculture, we call that a food forest. So you have layers of different living things. But at the same time, I'm still bringing in the wood chips because the wood chips are what create the fungal mass. When I say fungal, I mean woody. Alfalfa is actually a perennial. Okay, so it works great as part of this whole fungal mass, but sometimes when I'm mulching a garden, just a veggie garden, those are annuals, so I might use rice or barley or something like that. It doesn't have to be fungal.
Straw?
Straw is, you guys know the difference between straw and hay?
Yeah.
Okay, what is it?
Well, the straw is
The hay has seeds in it.
Okay, the straw is just the stem with no nutrition on it. And it's typically an annual grain. And
Hay's got the
hay
little heads on it.
is alfalfa or orchard grass or something like that that actually has the nutrition that you would feed animals.
Which is in the seed head?
It's in the seed head. It can also be in the leaf.
Oh, it can.
It can be in the leaf too. So I like to get alfalfa for my horse that has a lot of leaf in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be a good substitute for alfalfa, given alfalfa takes a lot of water to grow it.
There's dry land alfalfa that hardly takes any. But
Does anybody sell that in town?
well, I just want to say that Peaceful Valley has the best cover crops that I know of in the nation.
Wow.
Yeah, they've got the best selection. I mean, I've gone places in the country to teach classes, and I always try to go buy stuff that I want to use for the classes. I was in Arizona. Nobody knew what a cover crop was. I was like, oh my God. Because, Peaceful Valley has the most extensive selection for winter or summer. And I only mention alfalfa because it's so nutrient rich and its roots go way deep down. And Susan's mentioning, because I said it to her, but you can use a lot of different things. There's even orchard mixes. But the thing is, let's just take the almonds. You know what an almond is?
An
almond.
You can't say that. Say almond.
Okay, the almonds.
Oh, I'm
You
like,
go down to the
what?
valley, they call them almonds.
It's an almond.
And there's a crick down there too. But anyway.
It's salmon, but
So,
it's an almond.
they have to take hundreds of millions of bees down to the valley to pollinate the almonds. But the problem is bees don't like to travel more than a couple miles. So they get all these illnesses. And what's so sad is they kind of nuke the soil of the almonds. It's just bare. Why not grow plants in there that the bees could live in and bring the pollinators back in? Which, by the way, I want to say, it's not the end of the world if the honeybees die, unless you love honey.
I'm with you.
There's 400 types of pollinators right here in our county.
100%.
Yeah, so it's not the end of the world. I read all these things and it's like, oh my God, we're about to die. We're not
it is for like a commercial almond grove, they're gonna be screwed.
Okay, so the honeybee came here from Europe to pollinate European
Fruit trees.
vegetables and fruits. Okay, that's
Wow.
It's an invasive species. It's
It
not
is.
even native.
But I'm into mason bees personally, but a guy just told me, the guy that's working out my pond, because I got sick of cleaning, I like to clean it every year, and I got this guy who's gonna do it, and he goes, would you like a top bar beehive with the bees? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take them, even though I'm like, it's not the end of the world. He's like, oh, I'm just gonna give it to you. I'm like, fine, okay.
Dude, I'll take that. Wow.
All right, so a lot of times we talk about permaculture as being edible landscaping, and not being such, like, it's not a typical normal garden. We don't use fossil fuels. It's not, the stuff isn't shipped in. What we're looking at is a garden that thrives, survives in style, has limited water use, but more importantly, doesn't take much work. Okay, so we design for low maintenance. That's where it's at for me, because I'm busy. I got a lot of stuff going on. And also, I want to be able to go, I went to Utah last summer and taught a permaculture design course for 2 weeks. Now my garden has to keep going, so it's not, it can't die, right? So this is one of my teachers, Jeff Lawton, and he showed me this video about Vietnam. So he went to Vietnam and he wanted to go through suburbia in Vietnam and see how they set up suburbia. Because suburbia, like so much of our suburbia here, it doesn't have anything that you need in it. Like there's not a store, and there's not, in the old days there were little corner grocery stores and stuff. So he's driving around in Vietnam, and somebody turns him on to this food forest. And so he drives, it's about a half an acre food forest. And he's looking at the food forest, and they're telling him all the food that they get out of it. They don't do anything for it. They don't water it. They don't do anything. And he asks, well, how old is this food forest? And they tell him, this food forest is 28 generations old.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
sustainable.
but we have the same, we have our own ecoclimate with a food forest. I mean, there's
Different things. You don't get
different,
breadfruit.
you don't get breadfruit, you don't get
but
bananas.
Like Alicia Funk could tell you all about the toyon and the manzanita and the madrone and all the
Which,
things
which
that
I
are
could tell you
right
about
there.
too, because I went and studied with her. She's great. Take one of her
That
classes.
it's all here.
Alicia Funk.
It's just not a
Like
canned-
you look at madrone. It's a beautiful plant, tree. It's got that kind of sienna colored bark.
Mhm.
It has berries. You can use the berries as cranberries.
Woo.
Toyon. You
Mhm.
know what toyon is, right? The red berries. Taste really bitter. If you let them dry, they're wonderful. How about manzanita berries?
Yes,
You take
yummy.
the manzanita berries and you put them in a blender and blend them up, and then put them through a sieve. Manzanita sugar comes out. You take what's left in your sieve and you put it in hot water and you make manzanita punch, which is really relaxing for summer. That's what I've learned from Alicia Funk, and a lot more. So take a class from Alicia Funk. All right, so I want to show you a little bit more about suburban gardening. This is a guy over in Reno that has all these plants in 5-gallon buckets.
Like on the curb, that's hilarious.
And then he takes them in for the winter and puts them in his back.
Would you call him an advanced gardener?
That's
amazing.
It's just really
What street
interesting.
in Reno do you know?
I don't know. I don't remember what street it's on. Yeah, he has like a sun porch on the back that he puts them on, and then he just brings them back out in the summertime. It's pretty low energy. It's all on drip irrigation, which is really cool.
But we agree he's advanced.
No, I'd say he could be a beginner. Yeah. In fact, at the Master Gardeners, I don't know if you've been to our garden, and you really should go look at it because it's all hydrozone, but we just put in an irrigation with little bubblers so that each of the 5-gallon buckets has a little bubbler that you can adjust so the water just comes to where you need it in the bucket. So that's pretty cool. But one of my favorites is Ruth Stout, and she's who introduced the sheep mulch garden. If you want to read about her, I've gotten 3 Ruth Stout Norwood garden books from library sales. I don't know if they have any more left, but
I just got rid of mine at the book swap.
Ah.
Because I read, it's all one message,
it
mulch.
is true. But anyway, you can look up Mother Earth News, February, March 2004, and you can read about the sheep mulch garden. I think these are the awesomest thing going. Sheep mulch garden. So here's the sheep mulch garden. Okay? And in my classes, I always teach everybody how to make a sheet mulch. It's wonderful for any kind of planting. It immediately removes the grass. If I was going to get rid of lawn, like Sacramento's saying, they'll give you $500 to get rid of your front lawn.
Wow.
So what you do is you just sheet mulch the whole thing.
What do you do?
Just put you put nitrogen down in the form of compost, and put any kind of carbon material you've got, like weeds or leaves or anything like that. Then you put cardboard, wet it down really good, put irrigation in, and then put either alfalfa or hay on top, or straw on top of it. So remember the picture I showed you with the cabbages earlier? This is just a rock mountainside, and we put a sheet mulch in here in 1/2 an hour, and then we planted it. We put irrigation in, and this is in the desert. She had all these gigantic cabbages. People came from miles around to take a look at it.
And that was right into the straw?
Yeah. Yeah.
On
This is to
top
me
of
the
rock.
easiest way to garden.
It's on top of rock though? Like
on top of rock.
solid granite?
Yeah, well, it's just big chunks of rock everywhere. You couldn't dig. Yeah. All right. The other thing I want to show you, I don't know if you're familiar with the allotments in Europe, but what do we do when we go on vacation? We go to the lake or we go to the ocean. In Europe, they go to their allotment where they grow all their food for the year.